Your dog learned its name: sit, stay, maybe shake, if you were patient about it. And that's remarkable in its own way. Dogs are extraordinarily tuned to humans, but tuned to humans is not the same thing as intelligent. A crow, with no training, no owner, no treats, and no instruction from anyone, will look at a problem it has never encountered and solve it. Not by accident, not by trial and error, by looking at the materials available and understanding what needs to happen. In a famous experiment, a New Caledonian crow bent a straight wire into a hook to retrieve food from a tube without being shown how, without ever having seen a hook before. It worked out that a bent wire could reach the food, made the tool, used it on the first real attempt. Then when the hook wasn't quite right, it adjusted it, iterated on its own design. Instinct doesn't do that. Nothing running on pure instinct ever stops mid-task and thinks, wait, I can do this better. For decades, scientists watched behavior like this and explained it away. Fluke, coincidence, operant conditioning, anything but what it actually was, because what it actually was deeply inconvenient. In cities across Japan, crows have been documented cracking walnuts using cars as tools. They carry the walnut to a crosswalk, place it in the road, and wait. The placement is deliberate in the path of tires, not on the curb. They understand where the car needs to go. They understand the difference between a surface a car travels on and one it doesn't. Then, they wait. Not impatiently, calmly. The way you wait for something you know is coming. Because you have done this before and you know exactly how it ends. The car runs it over. The shell cracks. The crow does not move yet. It waits for the light to turn red. For traffic to stop. For the crossing signal. Then, it walks out. Calmly, among the stopped cars, collects its meal, returns to its perch, and does it again with the next walnut. This requires the crow to understand traffic signals. To understand that a red light means cars stop. To understand that the moment the light changes is the safe window. To plan the entire sequence before it begins. Young crows in these cities learn by watching. Within a generation, the technique spreads through the local population. No human taught them. They taught each other. Now think about what that means. A behavior that requires understanding of traffic infrastructure, something that has existed for less than 100 years, was independently discovered by crows, refined by crows, and passed through crow communities without a single human involved. In one generation, crows also steal. But not randomly. They watch other animals hide food specifically, patiently, from a distance, and return to the exact location later. The precision of the retrieval rules out luck. They remembered the location, the depth, the angle of approach, the timing of when the other animal was likely to be away. Here is where it gets strange. If a crow is watched while hiding its own food, it does something that took scientists years to fully accept. It comes back later when the observer is gone and moves the food to a new location. It understood it was being watched. It understood what that meant. It understood that the watching crow now had information that could be used against it. It modeled another mind. It ran a simulation of what the other bird knew and what the other bird might do, and it acted to change the outcome of that simulation. You may have heard the fable of the crow and the pitcher. A crow drops stones into water to raise the level and reach floating food. For thousands of years, it was just a story, a charming illustration of animal cleverness that nobody took literally. Then scientists tested it. The crows not only solved it, they selected specifically the larger, heavier stones, ignoring the small ones that would barely move the water, understanding intuitively that mass and displacement are connected. Understanding cause and effect at a level that requires not just memory, but physical reasoning. They dropped them in sequence, watching the level rise, stopping when they could reach the food, deliberate from start to finish, efficient, precise, exactly like a person would do it. A 2014 study found crow performance on this task matched children aged 5 to 7, not below, matched. And in some variations of the task, the ones requiring the most forward planning, the crows outperformed the children. For most of scientific history, bird intelligence was dismissed because of brain size. The assumption was clean and satisfying. Intelligence scales with brain mass. Birds have small brains. Therefore, birds are not intelligent. Case closed. But size was the wrong measurement entirely, and crow research proved it. When you measure by neural density, by how many neurons are packed into a given space, and how efficiently they connect, the crow brain is extraordinary. Pound for pound, it contains more neurons in its problem-solving regions than a macaque monkey. The architecture is different from a mammal brain, but the output, the output is strikingly similar. When you measure by what the brain can actually do, by flexibility, by planning, by social complexity, by innovation, crows don't just compete with great apes. In specific domains, they beat them. This is the part scientists resisted for decades, because admitting it meant rewriting everything we thought we knew about the origins of intelligence itself. It meant Intelligence wasn't a mammal thing, wasn't a primate thing, wasn't even a big brain thing. It meant intelligence was something that evolution could arrive at through completely different roads and end up in roughly the same place. That idea was uncomfortable. It still is. But the data kept coming. Tool manufacture, check. Theory of mind, check. Long-term planning, check. Cultural transmission of learned behavior, check. Causal reasoning, check. One by one, every cognitive benchmark that scientists had used to separate human and great ape intelligence from the rest of the animal kingdom, crows cleared it. In 2020, a study published in the journal Science confirmed what researchers had been circling for years but were afraid to say plainly. Crows possess metacognition. Metacognition, the ability to think about your own thinking, to know what you know, to assess the reliability of a memory before acting on it, to recognize the difference between being certain and being uncertain, and to behave differently in each case. Before this study, metacognition had been documented in humans and in great apes. That was the list. 2 entries, the most cognitively complex creatures we had ever identified. The 2020 study added a third, crows. Scientists tested this by having crows perform memory tasks and then crucially asking them whether they were confident in their answers before rewarding them. Crows that were uncertain behaved differently than crows that were certain. They knew the difference between knowing something and guessing. They were monitoring their own cognitive states in real time. Think about what that means. There is a bird that weighs less than a pound, sitting in the tree outside your house, running a continuous internal audit of its own mind. This was the line, the one that when crossed meant there was no going back, because metacognition was the last thing standing between crow intelligence and human intelligence. And crows crossed it. The scientific community did not celebrate this finding. There were no press conferences, no announcements. The paper was published. Other scientists read it carefully. Some pushed back. Some asked for replications. The replications came back the same. Crows know what they know. Dogs develop their intelligence through thousands of years of human selective breeding, shaped to read us, to follow our gaze, to respond to our emotions, to want to please us. Their intelligence is in many ways a mirror of ours, built to interface with human minds because that was the only way to survive. Crows developed theirs alone, in the wild, with no human involvement and no human approval required. Every cognitive ability they have was earned in competition with a world that was trying to kill them. It belongs entirely to them. And it works so well that as human cities expanded, crow populations grew with them. They are the only large wild bird to genuinely thrive in the urban world, not tolerate it, not survive in the margins of it, thrive in the center of it. They learn traffic patterns, building layouts, garbage collection schedules, the specific sounds of individual humans, the behavioral patterns of the animals around them, faster than most humans learn a new city, and with no map and no phone. Every major city in the world has crows in it now. Watching, learning, using, thriving. They have turned human infrastructure into their environment, the way water turns any landscape into its own, effortlessly, completely. Human intelligence and crow intelligence developed separately across 60 million years of completely independent evolution. We arrived at some of the same places through completely different roads. For a long time, we told ourselves we were alone up here. That whatever this thing is, this capacity to think about, thinking, to plan, to model other minds, to pass knowledge across generations, it was ours, a gift from our lineage, proof of our uniqueness. The crow outside your window never read that story. It just kept solving problems, kept building tools, kept teaching its children, kept watching and remembering and adapting and thriving. And eventually, the scientists watching it had to write a different story. One where intelligence is not a destination that only one lineage reached. One where it is a shape that evolution finds again and again when the pressure is high enough and the time is long enough. One where the most surprising thing is not that crows are this smart, but that it took us this long to admit it. Leave a piece of food under a paper cup near where you see crows. Watch what happens. Watch how long it takes. Watch whether it hesitates or goes straight to solving. Come back and tell me what you saw. I read everyone,